So you've heard the nonstop news coverage about the Chinese spy balloon that was traversing the United States this past week. It was shot down this weekend once it was safely off the coast of the U.S. and out of harm's way for American civilians. Now, Republicans have used this opportunity to malign Joe Biden as weak and ineffective, claiming that Trump never would have allowed such a thing to happen. Starting to see where I'm going with this? The Department of Defense released a statement this week saying, quote, "The balloon did not pose a military or physical threat. Still, its intrusion into American airspace over several days was an unacceptable violation of U.S. sovereignty." The official said Chinese balloons briefly transited the continental United States at least 3 times during the prior administration. In other words, not only did Trump allow it to happen, not once, not twice, but 3 times, but he also did nothing about it. But something, strongest president ever. Got it. And look, maybe the reason that Donald Trump didn't bother shooting down any Chinese spy balloons while he was president was because he was protecting his own business interests in that country. Remember, we now know, thanks to Trump's tax returns being made public, that despite Trump claiming that his Chinese bank account was, quote, closed in 2015, in fact, it wasn't closed in 2015, his account was open as late as 2017 while he was still president. So if you're wondering why he was likely reticent to act too tough when it came to China, that should probably help explain some things. In any case, at this point, I'm assuming that all those Republicans calling Biden weak are busy eating their words, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who took to Twitter because, God forbid she doesn't weigh in on everything, and wrote, quote, "I just spoke with our great America First President Trump. He would have never allowed China to fly a spy balloon over our country and our military bases and assets. President Trump would have shot it down before it entered the U.S., and so would I." In other words, Marjorie Taylor Greene just spoke to Trump, who apparently lied to her about the exact same thing happening 3 times. He lied to her about his willingness to shoot down the balloons, which he didn't even do once, much less 3 times. And here's the best part. Greene finishes with, "and so would I." If you were curious about the depth of delusion that Greene is trafficking in here, it's her casually throwing her hat in the "I would be a strong leader" category with what she would do when faced with a national security threat. I could be comatose and still have a better grasp on reality than Marjorie Taylor Greene does. And to be clear, it wasn't just Marjorie Taylor Greene. Conservative media spent every waking minute hammering away at Biden for purportedly doing nothing about the balloon.
Biden looks weak with each second he keeps this communist balloon in the air.
The message I think that a lot of Americans are going to take right now is that, the southern border's open. Right. And the skies above America are open.
Once you knock it out, you can collect all the intel. We don't know what it is, Judge. How do we know it's not pushing spores? How about COVID-22, 23, whatever year it is? We have no idea what this thing is. Bring it down before it gets to New Jersey, because I'm about to lick one off.
Mike Pence tweeting just a few moments ago, quote, "Shoot down the Chinese spy balloon. Go ahead and send the Secretary of State to China next week. Have Secretary Blinken look them in the eye and tell them it better never happen again. That is peace through strength."
They're disrespecting
Why do you
Joe
think they're
Biden.
doing it?
To be honest with you, I'll give you a baseball analogy. In baseball, if you have a catcher with a weak arm, everybody tries to steal bases on him. Okay, we have been perceived around the globe as having a weak arm in a post-Afghanistan world. Okay, you've seen China encircle Taiwan, you've seen Putin invade Ukraine, and now you've seen China fly a balloon over an intercontinental ballistic missile facility. There's no way that's not some sort of a middle finger to our president. There's just no way it's not.
Let's see what's in the payload. Let's see what they're working with. Is there a bunch of honey inside? Is it a honeypot for Eric Swalwell? No one really knows.
So it's very concerning what this Chinese spy balloon had already transmitted. You could say it was mission accomplished already for Beijing, because that spy balloon had already transmitted all of its information, took pictures, sent back all the radio signals, any other espionage efforts.
My concern is that the federal government obviously doesn't know what's in that balloon. Is that bioweapons in that balloon? Did that balloon take off from Wuhan? We don't know anything about that balloon.
Bet you didn't know there were that many closet balloon experts working at Fox. Lucky for us, we got to hear from all of them. Only one small issue with the whole narrative surrounding Biden's inaction. It turns out that Biden actually ordered the balloon shot down on Wednesday as soon as it was safe to do so. So while all these couch generals over at Fox were decrying Biden's inaction, it turns out that he'd already made the call days earlier. But you might ask, okay, well, why didn't he just do it sooner? Why wait until the balloon had already traversed the entire United States? First of all, according to the DoD, long before the shoot-down, U.S. officials took steps to protect against the balloon's collection of sensitive information, mitigating its intelligence value to the Chinese. The senior defense official said the recovery of the balloon will enable U.S. analysts to examine sensitive Chinese equipment. Meaning, first of all, the balloon wasn't actually accomplishing anything of substance for the Chinese. But second, and more importantly, Biden had given the authorization to shoot it down as soon as there was no risk to civilians. While it was over the United States, it would have posed that risk to civilians. So the options here were to let an otherwise useless balloon get out of harm's way before shooting it down, or to cave to a bunch of lunatic Republicans and shoot it down over American civilians. So yeah, maybe listening to the assholes posting photos of themselves with guns in their front yards, cosplaying as members of the military to shoot down a useless balloon, might not be the best idea after all. And just another note here, do Republicans really expect us to believe that the same party that spent years wailing about 4 Americans dying in Benghazi want you to think that they'd have been fine with Biden shooting down a massive balloon over American civilians, even though the military concluded that it wasn't safe to do so? Could you imagine what Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham would have said if Biden did listen to them and shoot down the balloon over the U.S., and it fell on someone's house, damaged their property, if it caused a traffic pileup, if it killed someone? Again, they talk about Benghazi to this day, and yet you want me to believe that if Biden's determination led to the death of an American on U.S. soil, that those same people wouldn't investigate him from now until the end of time? Give me a break. The fact is that they want any reason to complain. They'd complain that he didn't do anything, even though he did. Then they'd complain that he didn't do it fast enough. And if he did do it faster and it led to unintended consequences, then they'd complain that he did it too fast. These are not serious people. They are there to whine because they traffic in victimhood. Compare that with the Democrats, who spend their time in power getting stuff done. From the biggest climate investment in the history of this country, to an infrastructure package, to veteran health care, a gun safety bill, the CHIPS bill capping medical costs, lowering prescription drug costs, taxing corporate tax dodgers, creating over 12 million jobs, bringing the unemployment rate down to a 54-year low, creating almost 1 million manufacturing jobs, tackling inflation, getting gas prices down. Republicans spend so much time complaining and zero time legislating, while Democrats are actually out there getting it done. Maybe if the GOP put some of that energy toward governing, they wouldn't be in a position where they failed to create more jobs than a single Democratic administration in the last 3 decades. Maybe a little less crying and a little more work, and they might actually have something to show for themselves. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.